Hello and welcome. This is Lino Tadros from the Training Boss, and in this video we're going to discuss and demonstrate how to be able to install and set up correctly the Sitefinity NextJS as a front end against the Sitefinity CMS as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I have a website here that I created in Visual Studio 2022. I'm not going to go through an installation of the packages or anything like that. This is something that is available in other videos in my channel that you can take a look at if you would like. But I've created one with the latest version available as of right now. And I would like to go ahead and compile it and run it. There are no data, no pages, nothing at all. I just installed it. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. We have it running straight from Visual Studio on IS Express on port 54083. I'm going to go ahead and log into the back end. And there are two things that we need to do. Let me log in. One of them is mandatory, and that has to do with the web services built into Sitefinity itself. And the other one is optional. I would like to create an MVC page just as a hello world to see how that's going to come into the front end of Next.js as well. So let's do the mandatory one first. I'm going to go administration, web services, and you will have your default right there. Notice by default, the administrators only will be available to access the web service. I need to change this to make it everyone. And we will say save changes. Same thing that you'll have to do with .NET Core front end as well. Next.js will require that as well. Excellent. The last part is to create just a hello world page just so we can see something that will pass through. We'll say create a page. We'll call this one the home page. We'll say continue. And I have my bootstrap. Let's use this template in here. It has a header and a footer. And with that, I'm going to put a content in the middle of it. Let's say content block in here just to be able to see something. And I'll say welcome to the home page. Oops, where am I writing? Welcome to the home page. All right, let's go ahead and make this an H1, center it on the screen, save and publish, and we are ready to go. All right, so publish. So right now I'm actually done with the CMS itself. Now we need to actually transition to start seeing what we have to do to create a Next.js front end that talks to the CMS as well. This is really the part that I would like you to concentrate on because there is so many different things available out there. Even Progress themselves, they have different repositories in GitHub. The one that actually contains the correct information right now is called the GitHub Sitefinity NextJS-samples. These steps on how to set up a correct Next.js, even though there are some steps in here that are actually not necessarily needed, but they will be needed in the future as well for more advanced stuff. So my interest in here is to go ahead and create a folder on my machine, which I'm going to do on my E drive, for instance. And then I need to run this npx. That means you'll have to have Node installed on your machine. I need to run this from the command line to be able to create a Next app for Sitefinity Next.js. And it will actually clone a repository that they have directly available as a starter template, so you don't have to spend a lot of time creating all of these things manually. Just a hello world template that will get Next.js working. So let's go ahead and copy this. We will need this into the clipboard so we can use it later. And what I would like to do, I'm going to open up, let's go ahead and open up the storage in here on my E drive, and I'm going to create a brand new folder. Let's create a folder, and we'll create, let me do it in here, just click inside of it, and I'm going to call this one, we'll call it Next, we'll say SF Next.js. Alrighty. This is good enough for me. And then I'm going to double click on this SF Next.js, right click, and we'll say show more properties. And I'm going to open it up in Microsoft Visual Studio Code. We'll open this up. There we go. It's completely empty, as you can see. And I'd like to run from the terminal. We'll say run the terminal. And in here, I would like to bring in that line of code that we got from the repository. npx create next app, and then you can give it whatever name you want. The demo says Next.js-Sitefinity. I can call it foo if I want to, it doesn't really matter. But as long as the example is going to be cloning directly from the starter template available on the Progress Sitefinity GitHub account. All right, let's go ahead and push enter in there. It will take a few seconds and then it will find out that it needs to install a lot of different packages. It might take about 2 minutes to finish whatever it needs to do. I'm going to stop the video and come back as soon as it's done. And there you go, it finished. As you can see, it was successful. Under my SF Next.js folder, it created another folder called Next.js-Sitefinity. That's the name of the project that I just created with npx. And inside of that, it put all the different files that it needs to create a correctly implemented React-based Next.js project. All right, so the only thing left right now, I need to install all the packages that are needed for this project. They are all available in the packages.json. I just need to make sure they're all installed. So first of all, I'm going to need to cd into that Next.js-Sitefinity. Let's go there, and then we'll say npm I for install. And then again, it will take about maybe 40 seconds or so. It will install everything. Well, it didn't take 45 seconds because I have a lot of these things installed already. So it will already have everything installed inside of there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and say CLS to clear this up. And right now we're in pretty good shape. The only thing left is for me to decide whether I would like this to run this in development mode or in production mode. Notice the project that comes directly from Progress Sitefinity has an environment production and environments development. I'm going to use the development one for right now. And these are very important pieces for you to understand as well. The most important one is line number 2, which is the SF_CMS_URL. This is pointing to where the CMS is. And it's built right here so that you can actually use IIS on your machine, for instance. The instructions for this setup requires IIS. I actually did not find that just running the front end requires IIS at all. I can run it with IIS Express. Only when you need to go to the back end inside of Next.js, then you will need IIS because you need an extra piece of a handler installed for URL rewriting as well. And we will do that together here in a minute. But for right now, of course, localhost is not going to work. So I need to go back and find out what my okay, the port number is 54083. Let me just go ahead and copy this line in here, and we'll go ahead to the HTTP. We'll put it right there. And don't forget the backslash at the end. That's an important backslash in here as well. We'll say Control S to save that. And if you're not using HTTPS and you would like the TLS to be able to move over and ignore the security piece on the SSL, say no TLS reject unauthorized equal to 0, which is the default, so we can actually run this as well. Excellent. At this point, we can move forward. Notice there are some things that says SF access key in the documentation. As a matter of fact, you do not need the SF access key. You might need it later on for more advanced stuff, but calling all the APIs on the CMS does not require the SF access key to make this, because we made it all open for everyone using the web services as well. All right. So the question now, can I compile this and run? It will run on HTTP localhost 5001. That is the port number that I'm going to ask it to run on, as you can see in here. We can change that if you want in the specific environment file. But I'm going to come in here, we'll say npm run, and we'll use the dev environment. We'll say go for it. It will take a few seconds to compile the stuff, and then it will tell me I'm ready to go, HTTP localhost 5001, and it's ready. All right, let's go ahead and see if it's going to work. What do you think? Do you think it's going to work? Let's go ahead and see. http://localhost 5001. Oops, nope, I don't want to go to Sitefinity. I want to go just to the page for 5001. And drums rolling right now, and hoping that this will work. That's a Next.js application that is hosting this, and we are trying to actually make a call into the CMS to be able to render the page for home, right? It should actually go straight from the 5001, and it says /home, but it will not work. And that, unfortunately, is not available currently in the documentation. Why didn't it work? It was supposed to work, right? But let's go ahead and take a look, for instance, in Visual Studio Code, how we can fix that. What's not available in the documentation for right now is that if you open up the source, there is a very important file called the middleware.ts. It's a TypeScript file that has information about importing some libraries and so on. But the most important part for us is there is a very sneaky line of code in here that has a whitelisted pass. This is only for the pass-through pages. If your website in the CMS have some web form, God forbid from the old days, have some MVC, and you want them to be passed through, you have to whitelist them, okay? It's expecting that the site will be done all in React and Next.js, okay? But if for whatever reason you need to bring in some pages from the old world, MVC and web forms, you'd have to whitelist them right there. And it's an array, so you can have as many pages as you want. In my case, in here, I'll open this and we'll say /home. Don't forget the slash is very important. If there are more pages, just put a comma. As you can see, Copilot in here is trying to say about, contact, services, but I only have home. That's the only page that I have. All right, let's go ahead and save this. I'm gonna kill it, Control C, and we'll say terminate, and I'll run it again. We'll say npm run dev, and we wait a second here until it gives me the localhost 5001. I think we're in pretty good shape. And if I go back in here, let's go ahead and refresh this page one more time. And this time, notice it comes really fast. Welcome to the home page. What you're seeing right now, this is a Next.js app, except the page itself is passed through. It's just the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript coming through. Next.js did not touch it. We were able to pass it through. Of course, we would like to go more than that. We would like to build the entire page in Next.js, having React and Next.js components and widgets and so on. That means I need to go ahead into the backend. If I go ahead in here and say /Sitefinity, and I push enter right there, we're gonna see this green buttons rolling like this for the next couple of hours, and it will never come back. Alrighty, so there is authorization problem. And if I open up Visual Studio Code, you will notice here at the bottom, it will start giving me 401s a lot for a lot of different things based on the metadata in the backend as well. So what is the problem in here? The problem is the URL rewriting itself. And this is the part that I need IIS for. So reality, if you just want to see the front end of the application, you don't need to run the CMS itself in IIS. It can be IIS Express like I'm running right now, but only if you need to run the back end, which most people of course will need to do that, then you will need to run this in IIS. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, we are in IIS here on my machine. There are a couple of things that you'll have to do to make sure this will work properly for you. The first one is, let's go ahead and create a site really quickly. We'll say add a website. We'll call this one remember, we are not going after the Next.js here. We're trying to actually have in IIS, we have the CMS itself. So I'm going to say SF CMS. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. It will create an application pool for it. And the physical path itself, I believe we put it under the E drive, and we called it SF. We'll go into the S's and SF Next.js. No, that's the JS application. I want the one for the CMS itself. And that will probably be under the ends, right? Next. Yeah, there you go. Let's go ahead and find it. Oh, there you go. Next.js. Don't get confused. We're not trying to hit the Next.js app. We were trying to do the CMS itself. All right. So there is the folder for it, and then we'll say OK there, and we'll say OK. All right. We're going to go ahead and take over that specific one. Let me shut down the default. We'll go here and we'll say stop this guy, and then I'm going to turn this one on, and we'll say start. And for this one, so it doesn't give us too much headache, let's go to the application pool, and we'll go to the SF CMS that we created, advanced settings. I'm going to change this guy to make it easy on myself for right now, local network service. We'll say OK. All right, let me just go ahead and restart and go for it. And if we've done our job right, we should be able to see the site. So it's loading right now. And let me bring this in here as well. There it is. Okay, I'm running localhost. There's no port. This is real IIS on my machine in here. And notice the welcome to the home page. So this is the CMS. There is no Next.js. There is nothing. I just wanted to make sure we can get to it and everything is working well. All right, let me go ahead and minimize this. Let's go back to the article that came from Progress regarding the steps that you have to do. We did the NPX. We did the environment variable. We did not have to do the SFXS key. And then it says here we have to set up whether it's in the cloud in Azure, for instance, or we can do this on our local host. We're not going to do it in Azure for right now. We're doing it on our IIS. There is a very important piece in here, folks, which is to download the NuGet packages for Progress Sitefinity Cloud AppGatewayHostRewriteModule. So there is a couple of things that you need to do. Just bear with me here for a minute. I'm going to click on this guy. We'll go to the NuGet package. Alrighty. I'm going to go on the right side. We'll say download the package. Let's go ahead and download it. And then I'm going to open it up in my download folder. There it is. The one thing that you want to do, because NuGet packages are zip files pretty much, you need to go ahead and change the extension to be zip. Alrighty, yes. And I'm going to open up this file in the zip and I'm going to say extract all. It's bringing here to another monitor. Let me go ahead and extract it. Whatever it is fine with me. And what I'm interested in is not all that stuff. This is the content of the NuGet package. I'm only interested in the content. There is one DLL in here that will do the magic, and that's the host rewrite module.dll. It's about 16 kilobyte. Let me right click on this guy, we'll say copy, and I'm gonna go put it somewhere where I can easily get to from IIS. I'm gonna go to the E drive, for instance, and let me go ahead and paste it in here. Just at the root, just for right now. But usually you want to put it in somewhere nice so you can remember and be more organized than that. But I'm going to put it at the root of the E drive. All right, sounds good to me. Now we go back to IIS. Where do I actually tell IIS that I need to use this specific module that will allow us to work from Next.js? I'm going to click on the server itself, not a site, the server itself. And then from the modules in here, let's double click on this guy. And then we'll say create configure native modules. Let's click on that. And notice it needs to be available in here and we don't have one. So I'm going to have to register a new one. And we'll call this one, for instance, App Gateway Rewrite URL. Okay, you can call it anything you want. The name is not important. The important part is the path in here. And as if you remember, I put it on the E drive. There it is. And we'll go ahead and register it. We'll say, okay, it has to have this check mark, okay? So don't forget, it has to be checked when you say okay in here. And there it is. The App Gateway Rewrite is available and ready to go. And IIS right now can go through that with no problem. These are really the things that you'll have to worry about to make sure everything is working. All right, let's go back now to our home page. And instead of the local host, I want to go back to Next.js. We'll say go on 5001. We are in Next.js, and this time I'm going to, oops, did I stop it from running? I probably did. Let me go back in here. Yep, I did not have it running. Let me start it back again. npm run dev. There we go. And once it starts, all right, we're good. Now if I go ahead and refresh this page, oh, internal server error. Let me see what I did here. Oh, I know what I did here. Well, I'm still hooking up to the IIS Express, right? That's wrong. All right, let's go ahead and move this away. Thank you very much, IIS. Let's open up Visual Studio Code as well. And if I go back to my environment, oh yeah, I'm still hooking up to actually my IIS Express. So we need to go back now and use IIS. So I'm going to remove this port number. We'll Control S this guy. All right, let me go ahead and stop it from running. Hopefully you understand my mistake in here is that I'm not connecting to the correct one. We'll say npm run dev. All right, and it's ready to go. Now let's go back one last time, hopefully, and we will refresh. We'll go here to slash or 5001 and drums rolling, please. It's thinking about it. And after thinking about it for a few seconds, it did show up, /home. It's all good. All right. So now the $1 million question is, can I actually load this in the back end of the Next.js? We'll say Sitefinity, and we'll try to log in on this one. I can actually get to it. And notice it did not return me back to localhost. If you didn't do the app rewriting registration piece in IIS, sometimes when you say localhost :5001/Sitefinity, it will log you into localhost/Sitefinity. It's trying to go back, but this one will keep it in here and will say login. And of course now I'm going to go ahead and force me to log in and log me out from the database. But the beautiful thing in here, I am now running in Next.js. That means whatever I design as far as templates or pages, I'm not doing that in MVC or anything else. I'm doing that in Next.js using Next.js widgets based on React and so on. So let's go back to pages, and I'm going to create a brand new page at this point. We'll say my next page, alrighty, and we'll say continue. And notice something beautiful is going to show up in here. There you go. You see, it's not only the Bootstrap anymore. It knows that I'm running from inside of Next.js, and there is my Next.js template in here. I'm going to say select this template. And now it will be the same exact experience that you had with .NET Core. You'll be able to create here whatever you'd like regarding different widgets and go from there. So So I can start with an add section. And by the way, it's a little bit slower because there is a lot of different verbose debugging going on right now. So it will get better, of course, but this page will be white for about maybe 5-6 seconds, and then it will show up. It's okay. So add a section. There is my first section in here. See, it's taking a little bit more time for right now using the debugging. And there is my whole section in here. I'm going to add a widget, all the widgets that you are very familiar with, of course, for the .NET Core one. So if I want to add a content block, it will have it in here. We'll have the WYSIWYG editor and everything else. You can have news, lists, all the components and all the widgets that you are familiar with will be available in here. So I'm going to say hello, and we'll say save. And we can go back and design more stuff. We can add more widgets, or add more widgets like images, forms, documents, you name it. All of them are available in here. And in the future videos, I want to show you how to create one of these widgets as well, purely in Next.js with React as well. But for right now, hopefully this was useful to you to find out what you need to do to get Next.js up and running really quickly. You don't even need IIS, to be honest with you, if you just want to pass through and you'd like to view the pages. But if you would like to go to the back end, yes, right now you need to actually make a little bit of changes. Hopefully this video will save you some time. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe as usual, and have a great one.